Right, so welcome to your CMY 282 practical course. I'm your course coordinator. My name is Hendrik. This is my email address. And your most important document that you will ever have for this course is your practical guide. So you'll receive a hard copy at your first prac session and a soft copy which is available on ClickUp, which we can update as we discover any errors. You also need to remember to complete some agreements under the agreement section on ClickUp. So these are important for you to actually have access to all the content as well as the lab in the course. How the course works, or the practical course works, is we start with a practical assignment, which is your first week. Then it's followed by 4 laboratory experiments, where experiments 1 to 3 is done on a rotational basis. You need to look at the rotational roster available in the prac guide to see exactly which the dates are, which your group does, and then experiment 4 everyone will do at the same time. You will also know that your Wednesday and Thursday practicals start at 11:30, are done in lab 331. Important stuff in the practical guide is pre and post practical lecture videos. So pre-practical lecture videos covers theory, post-practical lecture videos covers how to write the report, the questions that you need to answer. There's also experimental videos and some additional content for you to use in your preparations for any of your pracs. Then finally, there are pre-practical tests that you need to complete. These are on ClickUp, and you'll see them in their own folder. So please complete them before your relevant experiment. If you do not do that, then you will be denied access to the lab. Right. So this infamous practical guide, how does it work? You will see in the practical guide, there are some areas where there is a QR code and a clickable link. So once you have the hard copy, you can scan the QR code, or in the soft copy, you can of course just always click the link, and it will take you to a YouTube video where I explain what you need to do for a certain question, or it's the experimental video or the lectures or whatnot, whatever it may be, that is contained in those links. Later on, so that's where the assignment is how it looks. For the experimental pracs, you will notice it's there on the left-hand side. So you have the pre-prac lecture video, the experimental video. It reminds you to complete your pre-prac test, and there are some fill-in sheets and report templates on ClickUp. So all the information is in the prac guide. Just read it, follow it, and you won't make a mistake. Some general aspects. So the practical assignment has some specific instructions that you need to complete, and it's like it says, it's an assignment. So you need not worry about report writing here. It's a template that you will fill in, which I will go into detail just now. For the experiments 1 to 3, then you need to look at the practical guide, what is required of you, and then you'll see there are some report templates on ClickUp, which you can use, or you can construct your own documents just based on the template. That's also fine. So experiments 1 to 3 covers general aspects of report writing. So reports consist of titles, abstracts, introduction, methods, results, discussion, references, and in each of these experiments we elaborate on 1 or 2 or 3 of these aspects so that you learn how to write those sections individually. And then finally you'll get to experiment 4, where you'll write a full report, a full scientific report, where you can showcase everything that you've learned up until that point. It's nice, eh? Yeah. The reports itself must be submitted in PDF format, uploaded to ClickUp via Turnitin, according to your due dates. Late reports will of course imply any penalties, as described in the guide, and we will discuss this penalty system just now. Importantly, you have multiple submissions for an experiment until the due date, and then you only have one submission. So you're able to check your similarity, your plagiarism, that kind of thing, what you still need to fix until the due date, and then thereafter, unfortunately, whatever you submit then is the final one. So plagiarism, I'll elaborate on what is plagiarism and what not later on, but it will be dealt with severely. There's a kind of cutthroat way of handling these kind of things, so please do not plagiarize. This is your late submission penalties. So in other words, if you're late on the same day, it's very bad. So please don't constantly do it. Keep to your due dates, due to your due times, but there will be no penalty. Because I know life happens, and it's just, I think it's fair to give you a bit of leeway. But of course, if you misuse that leeway, then life has a funny way of coming to bite you. Yeah, so then you can read these, and third day and onwards you get minus 100 marks, which will probably mean you have 0, but you still need to submit something, otherwise your course is deemed as incomplete. So the penalty system is here so that you do not get 0 if you are late. This is here because life happens, so then maybe your dog died and you needed a day to reflect on that, so then you couldn't complete your report, so then taking 25 marks is a sufficient penalty because your dog dying is not a legitimate excuse according to UP regulations. So that's why the penalty system exists. Things that are legitimate excuses for late submission or anything of that sort is a medical certificate. Now, only medical certificates are given by a medical or board certified medical doctor is what will be accepted. Police affidavits and those kinds of things and pinky promises and whatnot are not official documents which we can use. So those are the only things that can be used for you to be excused from any formal activity or to grant you extension for the completion of a report. Granted that you provide it within 3 working days. In other words, if you have a Wednesday prac, then it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 3 working days. You count the day on which you had it, missed the activity as well. So just keep to that, please. You can further read the UP General Regulations to see what is considered an official medical certificate. So there's about 3 pages on what a certificate needs to have for us to grant you extension and when we are allowed to refuse the extension or refuse the document. Now, looking at the practical assignment, so that's your first prac. The practical assignment is based on things that I've noticed through the years regarding things like Word and Excel, referencing software, and even aspects of the library that are just missing because they sort of fall through the gaps in the other modules that try and teach those things. So now it's focused on how to use these things for chemistry, or for science. Generally, the courses like AIM or LST provide a general idea of what is used, but it's not really applicable to anything we do. So that's the idea of the assignment. It should be easy. The idea here is not to challenge you in any way. It's really just to teach you some useful skills. And then, of course, the only way to get you to look at the videos and do the work is to have marks associated with it. So hence, we have an assignment. There's an online template, so please use the template. You will fill it in. This is the only time that you must use the templates I provide. Otherwise, your assignment won't make any sense. And these two sort of go together. Don't rush it. It's to your own detriment, because I give a lot of additional help in this assignment, teaching you how to use these things. So of course, it would be expected of you later on in the course to use those things. And if you do not use them, then that would be to your detriment and to your report marks detriment. Here's the template that you need to use. So you'll fill in all the places where there's some red text. The red text asks you a question sometime or whatever. So just ensure that your document has no red in it and you'll know you have filled in everything. Of course, plagiarism, as I mentioned this earlier, is dealt with severely. We have a thorough understanding of the UP legal system. So how plagiarism works: if you are found guilty of plagiarism, or if you lent out your report to someone else who then plagiarized it, you're also implicated. Then there will be a committee meeting where they will talk about whether or not you should be allowed to study further, or any other penalties or things that they feel is applicable or appropriate for your actions. It can even extend up to being excluded for up to 5 years from any university in South Africa. So don't push the boundaries. Now, I always get 2 questions. The first is, what then similarity percentage is okay? The answer is, if you have a 30% similarity, let's say, and that 30% consists of, I don't know, the references and some headings and general terms that you can't really get around, right? It is what it is. I mean, you can't call potassium something else. So let's say, for example, that makes up your 30%, and there's really nothing that's dodgy or looks weird, then that's fine. Then 30% is fine. But let's say you took 3 sentences from your friend, and you put that directly in your report, and they also submitted their report using those 3 sentences, and that's only 2% of your report, that means you plagiarized, and that 2% is enough for you to get 0 for your report and be escalated to that point. So it's not about how much, it's about if you do. So and I promise you, you'll know whether or not you plagiarized. Like, you know when you do stuff, right? So you should be able to know when you've done it. And now comes the question, but what if you accidentally plagiarize? I promise you there's no such thing. Nobody accidentally plagiarizes. It is physically impossible. Human beings are too unique to state things and do things in the same order. If you speak to your friend, you have a big discussion on how you're going to write this report, and you go off to separate rooms and write the report, I promise you, even though you discussed it word for word almost what you wanted to say, it's not going to look the same, it's not going to sound the same, it's not going to read the same. You won't have the same references, you won't have the same illustrations. So if it looks like you worked with your friend and you have the same thing, then it means you plagiarized. And the only reason you will be able to replicate something even remotely similar to someone else is if you plagiarized. So that covers the second question I always get. So I promise I'll know, and I mean, it will be fair as well. So I mean, it's not going to be for stupid things. Like I said, potassium was added. It's not going to be plagiarism. Right, other things that you can't do. You can't be unprepared for experiments. You'll be asked to leave the laboratory and receive 0 for that experiment. You also won't be allowed to leech on your practical groups. In other words, you can't be the person who just like hops between spaces and never really does anything. You will also get 0. So please prepare well for your experiments. All the information that you require is provided, and there's no need to leech on other people. Finally, anything about the media content we provide, you're not allowed to distribute it on any other social media platforms, especially TikTok. I mean, I think I would run a very successful TikTok channel. So please give me the opportunity to do that myself. So that is, in other words, the videos, the content that you are given in PDF format, no distribution of that. I have an open email policy, so you're more than welcome to email me. Reasons why is on Mondays and Thursdays I'm busy with other teaching involvements. I also teach first years, and then I have you. So you might not catch me. That is a problem. So if you email me, I promise I'll answer you within a day. Prepare well for your experiments so that you can discuss the chemistry and physics rather than the specifics, like how much needs to be added or what is this. And then you will have a nice course, I can promise. So if you prepare well, all will be well. You can use the discussion board on ClickUp, and then of course, good luck with your practical assignment. I really hope this practical course will be one of your favorites in your undergraduate career. But we have one final point that we must look at. The concept of using AI chat models in your reports is fine in a certain context. These are things that have been developed and we need to learn how to use them. So the key term here is how to use them. You cannot go and copy directly what ChatGPT or anything gave you. That's not the idea of it. What you can do, however, is you can ask it questions. So the main point here is you just need to do it ethically. So ask ChatGPT, give it the question that you were asked. Ask it, okay, but why do you say this? What is this? What does this word mean? Can you explain this phrase to me like I'm a 2-year-old? That's fine, because you're using the information. It's like asking someone for advice. You're more than welcome to use ChatGPT or similar AI tools for giving advice. But you're not allowed to copy it verbatimly. Turnitin picks up ChatGPT verbatim copy. So we'll know. I can promise. So please don't do that. That also falls under the idea of plagiarism. We're almost done. The last things are you need to be in a practical subgroup, so A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, those things. So that allows you to submit on your correct group on Turnitin. And if you haven't completed the agreements, when you're watching this video, just do it now. Like pause the video and go do that, and then you can come back and watch the last slide. Two things that we introduce in this practical assignment are EndNote and Mendeley. So the university is subscribed for using EndNote, and the library can help you with anything EndNote related. So you can contact Ms. Larato Bopape for any assistance with EndNote and installations, any errors that you have and troubleshooting that you may require. Mendeley, which is far easier to use than EndNote, is what I can assist you with. All the videos I made for this practical assignment is using Mendeley, and it is really, really easier. There's a lot of help for Mendeley out there, not so much for EndNote, so we might be able to do it. You are also allowed to reference by hand. These are just the idea that if you have 100 references, then it's really difficult to reference by hand. So that's why we introduce it. So if you really struggle with these kinds of things, it's okay, reference by hand. All right, good luck with your assignment, and I'll see you in the lab.